How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the 5 trades I took on NQ. Definitely traded a little bit more than I'd like to today, but we were able to come out with a win, dig ourselves out from a losing day initially. So happy about that, but should have been done with much fewer trades. I was a little impatient on a couple. You'll see once I go over them. Let's take a look. I need to turn on fill so we can see exactly where I entered and what I did. Coming into the day, we had yesterday a massive rip on the news of pausing tariffs. In the after hours and pre-market, we kind of sold off from there. Coming into the day, we were making lower lows, lower highs. We kind of were holding this level here around this like 18,700 with this low from yesterday's session and the pre-market session. And basically I was waiting to see if we broke this resistance to the upside or if we broke below pre-market low, looking for the downside. In terms of support, we had a very minimal amount throughout this run up because it happened so fast. There's a big void of volume, and I can show that. Not what I was trying to do at all. That was pretty unfortunate. I don't even know what I just did. All right, well, what I'm saying is that we had a void in volume from that massive move up, and if I look at the volume profile, you can kind of see that, right? You see an accumulation of volume down here. Once we make that explosive move higher, we have not a lot of volume in between. So some of the high volume nodes, we did have one here that I highlighted that came into play today. It was pretty much the high of today as we were rejecting off of this zone. And then I had one here. This zone was from previous price action. And it was this high volume node here at the top of this kind of accumulation before we dumped that day. And then we have this zone down here, which is also from the pre-market session and after hours session before, what was that? Wednesday or Tuesday, excuse me, Tuesday session. So basically what I was watching is, do we break above this zone and hold and make a move up, breaking out of what would be like a giant bull flag, essentially, or do we break below this like 18,700 that is held in yesterday's session and the pre-market and head lower? And if we headed lower, what I was looking at is this zone down here around 18,300. So I definitely had a little bit of a bias to the downside based on how we opened as well, based off watching a break and hold above this zone or a break and hold below the pre-market low. We got that rejection off the bottom of the zone and then breaking that pre-market low, failing to close below it. Eventually we did close below it. At this point, my bias is to the short side. I was waiting for a lower high to short. We came up here and started testing the pre-market low, and I shorted. Actually, no, excuse me. I shorted way before that. It would have been wise to short once we retest the pre-market low, but I shorted here. We were moving lower. I shorted with a stop above these wicks. Super wide stop. I had a single contract. It was about 100-point stop, a little less than 100 points, about 90 points. 95 points, it looks like 96. So that was my first trade. Not great. It was just a single contract, but I was shorting here, expecting us to pull back all the way to that 1813. I can't speak. 18,300, and entering at like 630 or so, expecting a pretty big move. I wasn't gonna try to capture that whole move, but I was trying to get well over 100 points on this. I think my take profit was somewhere below low a day. I think it was like 530, 18,530, which would have been 100 points. About a 1-1. Terrible trade. This wasn't good. I was being impatient. Shortly after I entered short though, because we started to push above that pre-market low and then start to reject it. I can pull up 1 minute as well so we can take a look at that, but I entered short again and I made a mistake on this trade. It would have been pretty successful had I just traded it with a single contract as I was originally planning. but I entered a second contract, and that second contract kind of screwed me. And this is no fault but my own, so we'll take a look. My God, here we are. All right, so I got a little early in on this move here, anticipating a break lower. Got stopped out when we got this push higher. But once we got this push higher and we started retesting that pre-market low, you can see the volume dies down, the momentum in the candles dies down, so I went short. Once we got this big break here, I entered another candle or another contract short, and it happened to be pretty close to the low of the move. So we started to bounce, and it kind of screwed me. I got one contract out for a small gain, and the second contract that I entered late ended up being a bigger loss. Once again, I shorted up here. I was very short heavy. I just wanted to see a lower high and continuation to the downside. I shorted again with 4 contracts here, and I was stopped out by 1 point. So I had my stop up here, and I literally, it ticked me by 1 point. My stop was 801, it hit 802. So that was kind of frustrating, but that was a 4 contract loss here. At this point, I'm down like $700. I had a $200 loss here. I had a small win of $80 here, and then I had a $200 loss here, and then I followed it up with a $418 loss here. I should have been done at this point. I mean, I should not have been in this position at all in this point, because these first 2 trades were disasters. This third trade I think was actually a decent trade. I just got ticked, you know, it just wicked my stop by 1 point. So that will happen sometimes. But once we started to sell off from this point, I re-entered. And I re-entered short. We're kind of on this little bear flag right here on the 1 minute. I entered with 5 contracts, and my stop was above these wicks, so I had a fairly large stop. My stop was, what was this entry, 712. Oh no, it wasn't that far up. Where did I put it? Entry was 712, so I think I put it at like 760 or something. I had like a 50-point stop, because I sized in with 5 contracts. I think I put it at 765 or something. At which point I was planning on selling the majority on a break lower, and then riding a runner for an ultimate move back down towards low a day. My initial take profit was down around these lows here. You can see that we hit that. I think I raised it up a little bit because we started to do this. We started to kind of like wick around. And so I just took profit there. That was about 60 points on my first trim. 4 contracts I took off there. We can see that was $396 on 4 contracts. So yeah, about 50 points exactly, it looks like. My second take profit was near these lows, not quite at lows, but I placed it kind of at the point where we got the most touches, so somewhere in here, where we got a bounce here, here, and then over here. And then you can see that that was hit on my runner, and that was 209 points, or excuse me, 109 points for $216 on a single contract. So my runner did hit here. It was nice to get some continuation. I kind of needed it. So that brought me back most of my losses. I was down like $100 at this point. I left. I was happy to accept a small losing day, especially after kind of over trading. But I did come back later in the day because I'd seen that we had sold off and come down and hit this level. And I was curious to see if we had broken below it or if we were kind of bouncing and holding from this support. When I came back, we had just broken and closed underneath this level and started to come up and retest. On the retest, I entered short. I entered 3 contracts. My stop loss was above this candle wick. My first take profit was near the lows, not quite at the lows. And then I was leaving a runner to see if we broke below low a day and continued. So in this situation, I entered short here after we started to reject from this zone, took my first profit here, and then my runner was stopped out on this push up. I could have left my stop loss and it would have worked out. As you see, we broke lower for a few hundred more points. But at this point, I wasn't really wanting to accept any more risk because my first trim put me positive overall on the day. So at this point, I wasn't really trying to risk anything, and I brought that stop loss down to break even here. But the break and retest of this zone was a classic setup that I'd look, especially in a bearish day. Whenever we break and retest a zone, I want to see rejection off of it, just as we saw here in the morning, the break beneath and retest of this zone and reject. So a lot of these trades in here were kind of ill-advised. The only thing I did right was use a smaller size. I guess I did size up on some of those trades, so not the greatest day, but I did respect my stop losses each time and accepted the loss and kept trading. I felt like this was just this is a decent trade. I like the idea here. It was just not a great execution. Like I said, just got stopped out by a point, and then re-entered on that same idea, taking it down to my original target because I was entering short here, looking to take some off around these lows and then take off the runner at the low of day. Pretty much what I did here when I re-entered, but I had actually a much better entry on that initial trade, so same idea, but then came back and maybe was a little bit of greed, but I was down about $100 or so, and I knew if I could just hit a decent win with a couple contracts that it would put me up. So I'm up 118, 119 on the day if we round up, sitting at just under 500 profit on both the PAs. So looking to keep these growing. This week has been pretty difficult, having this size down. The moves are insane. Maybe I'm just in my head with the volatility that we have, and it's not allowing me to execute at the level that I should be. But just have to continue to try to get better and trade better and manage my risk. So trading with smaller sizes helped with that. But today I did overtrade and gotten a bit more of a hold than I would have liked to before digging myself out. So we'll look to kind of kick that, and hopefully tomorrow in the week on a positive note. If I can get one good winning day, this will be a nice week overall because we are up after having an initial losing day on Monday, and making 500 in a week per account at this, in 4 days after having a losing day. I can't be mad at it. It could be better. I could be better, but it's not a bad situation to be in. So just looking to continue to move forward, and hopefully we can get some better trading tomorrow, if not next week. So that's all I got. I appreciate you watching. I stream live Monday through Friday. If you want to stop by the stream, say what up, please do. I'd love to have you. Other than that, hope you have a great day. Peace.